Hello and welcome to the Squared Circle Psychobabble. My name is Michael Valenti and this is part 2 of our Booker Man 3-part series where we are booking the road to WrestleMania based on the outcome of the first ever women's TLC match. Now if you haven't seen our first episode yet, we'll have the thumbnail at the end of that video and the link to it will be in the description below where we booked if Asuka were to win the match. But in part 2, we decide if Charlotte Flair were to win this TLC match, how the road to WrestleMania would look like. We start simple here. Now that Charlotte Flair is the Smackdown Women's Champion and Ronda Rousey retained at TLC against Nia Jax, they don't have a Royal Rumble match to worry about. So Charlotte Flair challenges Ronda Rousey on the next episode of SmackDown Live after TLC. Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair exchange promos throughout the month building to this match, and they eventually have their match at Royal Rumble. At the end of the day, the Queen just wants to prove that she can beat Ronda and doesn't need kendo sticks, and doesn't need weapons, and doesn't need the help of Becky Lynch to help win against Ronda Rousey. In the match, Ronda Rousey actually ends up being victorious. Charlotte still not getting that win against Ronda Rousey. Now, we'll set up the WrestleMania feud, which will actually end up being a triple threat match. It will be Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch goes on as the number 1 entrant in the Royal Rumble and wins, goes the distance, last eliminating Nia Jax, who was the one that broke her face on the Go Home show to Survivor Series. After the Royal Rumble, Becky Lynch says she doesn't want to challenge one of the champions. She wants to challenge both champions in a match. Now Paige comes out and says that can't happen. You have to choose one or the other. Of course, Becky Lynch being the man, she refuses to choose one or the other. She wants both. So Paige and whoever the Raw GM is at that time, let's say it's Alexa Bliss. If Becky Lynch wants both Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania, she will have to defend her number 1 contendership at Elimination Chamber against 5 other competitors. Those 5 other competitors are Nia Jax, Carmella, Naomi, Sasha Banks, and Bayley. Now Lynch has to go the distance to win the Elimination Chamber match and does so by eliminating Nia Jax. And Jax looking strong in this match, kind of like how Braun Strowman did in last year's Elimination Chamber, eliminating everybody else except for Becky Lynch. This will settle that feud between Lynch and Nia Jax. Now because she's going the distance, this sets up the main event. Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch for both the SmackDown and Raw Women's Championships. It's the main event at WrestleMania, and of course, the man stands tall. She wins by pinning Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. Now, the aftermath of this, of course, Becky Lynch never actually pinned Ronda Rousey. So throughout the summer, Becky Lynch defends both titles against both Raw and SmackDown competitors. Sasha Banks, Bayley, the call-up of Shayna Baszler, Charlotte Flair, etc. But still will not defend against Ronda Rousey. That is until SummerSlam, where that again becomes the main event, Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey. It's armbar versus armbar, and it ends with Becky Lynch putting Ronda Rousey in the armbar, giving her first loss in WWE. We know what we're doing with Charlotte Flair, and we know what we're doing with Becky Lynch. But what are we doing with Asuka? She didn't win the Royal Rumble, so she won't be in any championship match. Well, at least in a singles championship match. The SmackDown After Elimination Chamber, Paige announces that there will be the new Women's Tag Team Championship division. And to determine the first Women's Tag Team Champions, there will be a round-robin tournament on both Raw and SmackDown. The top 2 teams on both brands will have a match at Fastlane to determine which team will represent the brand at WrestleMania. SmackDown's teams will be Naomi and Asuka, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, the Iconics, and Carmella and Lana. On Raw, we have Nia Jax and Tamina, Sasha Banks and Bayley, Alexa Bliss and Mickie James, and Sarah Logan and Liv Morgan. On SmackDown, Naomi and Asuka go 3-0 in the round-robin tournament, with Asuka getting all 3 wins by the Asuka Lock. they'll face Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose, who go 2-1 in the round robin tournament with their only loss against Naomi and Asuka. At Fastlane, Asuka wins again with the Asuka lock, putting the submission on Mandy Rose. Over on the Raw side, it's Nia Jax and Tamina that go 3-0, with Sasha Banks and Bayley going 2-1, and their match at Fastlane will end up with Sasha Banks and Bayley pulling the upset over the two giants of Nia Jax and Tamina Snuka. So, at WrestleMania, the first ever women's tag team championship match will be Naomi and Asuka versus Sasha Banks and Bayley. Now, as I mentioned before, Asuka has gotten every single win with the Asuka lock, but at WrestleMania, it is Sasha Banks and Bayley that pull out all the stops and manage to get the backstabber into the Bayley to belly suplex on Naomi, where they get the pin on her and win 1-2-3, becoming the first women's tag team champions. After the match, Asuka's trying to help up Naomi, but Naomi pushes Asuka in a bit of rage and walks away, leaving Asuka by herself in the ring. On the following Smackdown, Asuka asks Naomi why she pushed her away. Naomi doesn't say anything. She refuses to come out. And the following Smackdown, and the following one after that, Asuka keeps trying to get an answer from Naomi until she finally breaks her silence and says she is completely jealous of Asuka. She got her opportunities from winning the Battle Royal on that Smackdown before TLC to get a Smackdown Women's Championship match. She got an opportunity at WrestleMania to get the Women's Tag Team Championships. And yet Naomi, who won a Battle Royal, never got an opportunity to be in a title match. She wants to get what she deserves, and that is a title match for winning the Memorial Battle Royal last year at WrestleMania 34. So, Asuka says, if you want to be the champion, you're going to have to go through me. So, at Backlash, Naomi and Asuka have a match to determine the number one contender to go against Becky Lynch at the following pay-per-view, which would be Money in the Bank. Doing some heelish tactics, Naomi turns out victorious and will go on to face Becky Lynch for both the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships, which eventually falls to Becky Lynch. But that's not the end for Asuka. You see, she qualifies for the Money in the Bank ladder match and eventually wins the briefcase. She holds on to it until SummerSlam 2019. We already know that Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey are the main event, and Becky Lynch goes over on Ronda Rousey. That is, until Asuka cashes in. She cashes in on Becky Lynch, pins her 1-2-3, and becomes the new Raw and SmackDown Women's Championship. Her first title reign is at SummerSlam 2019. Well, that's how we're going to book things. If Charlotte Flair were to win at TLC, let us know in the comments what you would do if Charlotte Flair won at TLC. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell for notifications, as we're trying to get to 1,000 YouTube subscribers before the Royal Rumble. If you're listening on your favorite podcast provider, make sure you subscribe and review so that more people listen to the Squared Circle Psychobabble. Thanks for listening. My name is Michael Valenti, and you have listened to the Squared Circle Psychobabble.